Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aisha and you're watching Samaa News. Here are today's headlines. Tensions have reignited along the Pak-Afghan border in Kuram district, where unprovoked firing by Afghan Taliban and Indian-backed militants along the Pak-Afghan border has triggered a fierce response from Pakistani forces. The Pakistan army has targeted Taliban positions with precision strikes, setting multiple posts ablaze and destroying a Taliban tank. The militants have retreated, abandoning their positions after suffering heavy losses. Exchanges of gunfire have continued intermittently, while civilians from nearby areas are moving to safer zones, amid fears of further escalation. The United Nations says several countries, including European and Arab nations, Canada and the US, are willing to help fund Gaza's $70 billion reconstruction. The two-year war has left behind 55 million tons of rubble, while the UN estimates it could take decades to rebuild. Palestinian Foreign Minister Varsen Agabekian-Shahin says the opportunity for peace must not be lost, despite only cautious optimism over the ceasefire. Speaking in Athens, she urged global support for Gaza and the West Bank, calling their needs monumental and pledging to do whatever it takes to move the peace process forward. The Kremlin says it welcomes President Trump's focus on pursuing peace in Ukraine after securing a ceasefire in Gaza. Spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Moscow remains open to talks and hopes US influence can push Kiev towards negotiations. Iran has rejected President Trump's latest call for dialogue, accusing Washington of hostile and criminal behavior. Foreign Ministry says President Trump cannot claim to seek peace, while backing strikes on Iran's nuclear sites. Tehran says it remains open to respectful diplomacy, but not under US pressure. Madagascar's new military ruler, Colonel Michael Randrianirina, has declared a 2-year transition before new elections. He said the military had to step in as state institutions had stopped functioning and no government was in place. At least 16 people have been killed after a massive fire broke out at a garment factory and spread to a nearby chemical warehouse in Dhaka's Mirpur area. Fire officials fear the death toll could rise as rescue efforts are still underway. The International Monetary Fund has warned that tariffs and trade tensions, especially between the US and China, are adding to global economic uncertainty. In its latest World Economic Outlook, the fund said that US tariff shocks are further weakening the already fragile growth prospects. The European Union has sought US and G7 support to counter China's new export curbs on rare earth minerals. EU Trade Chief Maros Sefcovic called the move a critical concern and said ministers are exploring joint action. China's controls have already triggered global supply fears and a sharp market reaction after President Trump threatened 100% tariffs. The US has revoked visas of more than 50 Mexican politicians in a new front against drug cartels. Most of the politicians are from President Sheinbaum's ruling Morena party. Washington says the move targets activities contrary to America's national interest. And Pakistan has been elected to the United Nations Human Rights Council for the 2026 to 2028 term, with a strong majority. The election at the UN General Assembly reaffirms Pakistan's role as an active voice on global human rights issues. That's all for now. For more updates, visit www.samaa.tv. Thank you for watching Samaa News.